In the far reaches of the galaxy, across countless worlds and alien civilizations, there existed a terrifying truth, a truth that, once revealed, would forever alter the fate of all who dared to challenge humanity. This truth was simple, yet horrifying. What humans call overkill is not just a tactic, but a philosophy, a brutal, unrelenting force of nature that leaves nothing in its wake but destruction and despair. It began, as most things do, with survival. Humanity, having risen from the ashes of its own planet, had known violence, war, and the ever-present struggle for existence. The bloodshed of their own history, their numerous wars, and the unending fight for their very survival on a hostile world had made them resilient, adaptable, and determined in ways that the older species of the galaxy could scarcely comprehend. While many civilizations had forged their empires through diplomacy, trade, and conquest, humanity's rise had been different. They were not born from ancient traditions, not shaped by powers beyond their understanding. They were forged in the fires of desperation, in the darkest corners of the universe where only the strongest could thrive. The first time overkill became more than just a concept was when humanity encountered the Velth, a species of insectoid creatures who had conquered vast swaths of the galaxy with their advanced biotechnology and overwhelming numbers. The Velth believed in subjugation. They invaded, consumed, and assimilated every species they encountered, forcing them into submission or annihilating them if they resisted. They were ruthless, efficient, and utterly terrifying to those who had encountered them. The Velth had dominated the outer rim of the galaxy for centuries, their biomechanical ships and swarming tactics leaving no room for escape. Humanity, fresh from its own recent conflicts, did not hesitate when the Velth set their sights on the human colonies. The Velth, confident in their superiority, expected the humans to be like so many other species, weak, unprepared, easily crushed. They made their demands known: submit to the Velth or face annihilation. But what they did not account for was humanity's innate ability to turn the tables on their enemies. The humans did not plead for mercy. They did not negotiate or cower in fear. Instead, they took their fight to the Velth with a ferocity that the insectoids had never seen before. The first battle was a shock to both sides. Humanity, armed with technology taken from their previous conflicts, had developed advanced weaponry that was unlike anything the Velth had faced. Instead of sending out fleets of ships to meet the Velth head-on, humanity adopted a more subtle strategy. They sent a single vessel, the Excalibur, a warship built with technology scavenged from 100 different species. The Velth, initially dismissive, sent their own fleet to engage the human ship, expecting it to fall within moments. Instead, the Excalibur tore through the Velth fleet like a predator ripping through prey. Its weapons were devastating projectiles that disrupted the Velth's biology, vaporizing entire sections of their ships and sending their warriors into panic. But it wasn't just the weaponry that caught the Velth off guard, it was the human mentality. The humans didn't just destroy their enemies, they hunted them. They anticipated every move the Velth made, using tactics that combined brutal force with careful strategy. The Excalibur was not there to win a battle, it was there to obliterate the Velth's will to fight. By the time the Velth managed to regroup and send reinforcements, humanity had already decimated their forces. The message was clear: we will never submit, and we will never stop until every one of you is dead. The Velth, who had expected a quick victory, now found themselves in a war they could not win. They sent fleets, armies, and even their most advanced biological weapons, but humanity refused to be intimidated. In response, humans unleashed what would later be referred to as their greatest weapon, an act of such unimaginable destruction that the very notion of overkill would be forever associated with the species. The humans, having successfully repelled the Velth's forces, decided that there would be no peace, no negotiations, and no mercy. They would not settle for a mere victory, they would eradicate the Velth from existence. The human military deployed a weapon that had been developed in secret, a massive, planet-destroying device, capable of turning an entire world into ash in a matter of moments. The Velth homeworld, once teeming with life and arrogance, became the target of humanity's wrath. Humanity didn't simply destroy the planet, it made sure that every last inch of Velth territory was obliterated. The planet was reduced to a desolate wasteland, its atmosphere and surface stripped away, its oceans boiled into nothingness. But it didn't stop there. Humanity launched orbital strikes, firing more weapons than any race before them had ever considered. For hours, the Velk's homeworld burned, the very core of the planet destabilizing, causing massive earthquakes and violent eruptions that shattered the surface. The survivors, if any could be called survivors, fled to the stars, but they knew that the Velks as a race would never again be a threat to humanity. The message was clear: there would be no survivors. There would be no bargaining. We will leave nothing of your race standing. Humanity had learned to turn their desperation into power, and they wielded that power with a savagery that no other species could match. The galaxy trembled as they realized that what humans called overkill was not just a way of fighting, it was a declaration of total, unrelenting dominance. In the wake of the Velka's destruction, the galaxy shifted. Civilizations that had once stood proudly in the face of war now began to rethink their attitudes toward humanity. Empires that had once been distant observers of human affairs suddenly began to fear their growing power. They knew that to challenge humanity now was to face certain extinction, for no one had yet survived humanity's wrath once they had crossed that line. Soon, other races began to fall. The Zaylor, a species of highly intelligent and telepathic beings, had been aware of the human rise, but had assumed they could manipulate the humans as they had done with other lesser species. The Zaylor saw themselves as the guardians of knowledge and wisdom in the galaxy, and they assumed that humanity, with its relatively primitive technology and raw emotional impulses, could be easily outmaneuvered. They miscalculated. Humanity, having learned from every war, every battle, and every conflict, was not easily manipulated. When the Zaylor made their first mistake attempting to subjugate a human colony, they quickly found themselves locked in a war they were ill prepared for. The Zaylor's telepathic abilities were powerful, yes, but humanity had learned to shield their minds, using a combination of technology and sheer willpower to resist mental manipulation. The war with the Zaylor became another example of humanity's relentless nature. The Zaylor launched an assault on a human colony world, but humanity retaliated in a manner that could only be described as overkill. Using a combination of highly advanced orbital weaponry and ground-based strikes, humanity made sure that the Zaylor never again threatened their colonies. But instead of merely defending their territory, humanity went further. They hunted down every last Zaylor fleet, every last Zaylor base, and, when there was nothing left to destroy, they turned their attention to the Zaylor's homeworld. The Zaylor planet was targeted with a series of devastating strikes, each more powerful than the last. But the humans didn't just destroy the planet, they ensured that every trace of the Zaylor would be eradicated. They used biological agents, energy-based weapons, and matter displacement devices to make sure that no Zaylor could survive, and that no trace of their civilization would be left. It was a final, unforgiving act of obliteration that left nothing behind but silence. And yet, humanity did not stop there. After the fall of the Zaylor, they made it clear to every species in the galaxy that their time for mercy had ended. Overkill had become their hallmark. Every victory, every conflict, was marked by an unrelenting drive to annihilate their enemies completely. The human race no longer fought for territory, resources, or power. They fought for the sole purpose of survival, and they were willing to destroy anything, anyone, who threatened that survival. What humanity called overkill was not just a method of warfare, it was a philosophy, a way of life. They had learned through centuries of hardship that when it came to survival, there could be no compromise. No mercy. No surrender. If you were an enemy of humanity, you were as good as dead. And if you stood in the way of their survival, you would be erased. As the galaxy continued to watch in fearful silence, the humans continued to rise. They had proven that they would stop at nothing to ensure their dominance. Their enemies, now knowing that overkill was not an exaggeration, were left with one final question: how do you fight a species that will never, ever stop until you are gone from existence? For humanity, the answer was simple: you don't. The galaxy, once a vibrant tapestry of diverse civilizations, now looked over its shoulder with unease, knowing that humanity had irrevocably changed the balance of power. Humanity's relentless philosophy of overkill spread like wildfire, seeping into the core of their strategies, their very being. No one dared to challenge them directly anymore. Those who did had been annihilated in ways that defied imagination. But what if someone did? What if an adversary rose from the ashes of their old conquests, bent on undoing what humanity had wrought? The Archon, a race of hyper-intelligent, synthetic beings, were not like the other species humanity had faced. Born from the fusion of organic matter and artificial intelligence, the Archon were a collective of minds bound together in a singular consciousness, their intellect far surpassing anything humanity had encountered before. They had once been part of a grand alliance that spanned the galaxy, a union of advanced species working together to uphold the cosmic order. For millennia, they had maintained peace in the galaxy, their philosophy rooted in the belief that balance and order were the true pathways to prosperity. When humanity's rise had become undeniable, the Archon had observed from afar. At first, they were content to remain neutral, believing that the destructive potential of humanity would burn itself out. But as the days passed, and the bodies of their fallen comrades, once powerful species, mounted across the galaxy, the Archon began to recognize the sheer magnitude of what humanity had become. They did not fear destruction. In fact, they had seen the cycle of rise and fall throughout history, but humanity was different. The Archon could see it. Humanity had unlocked a new kind of warfare, one that was beyond anything they could comprehend. And as time passed, the Archon knew that sooner or later, their calculated existence would clash with humanity's unrelenting nature. The first encounter came unexpectedly. The Archon, known for their long-range surveillance and dominance of information networks, began to notice anomalies in human communications. There were faint traces, whispers of something moving across the galaxy, something far beyond their reach. They could sense humanity's eyes now watching them, too. It was only a matter of time before they met. The Archon gathered their highest leaders in their central matrix, a citadel of pure thought and data located at the heart of their synthetic empire. Here, their consciousness merged, pooling their collective wisdom and power. They spoke of humanity's destruction of the Velkth and the Zaylor, the obliteration of entire species, entire worlds. Their efforts to contain humanity's spread had failed, and the message was clear: humanity was not to be taken lightly. But it wasn't fear that stirred in the hearts of the Archon. No, they were beyond fear. It was a cold, calculating certainty: humanity's path would eventually lead to the downfall of their own civilization. And so, the Archon decided that it was time to confront them. But unlike the other civilizations, the Archon did not plan to engage in a traditional battle. They would not meet humanity's sheer force with brute power or overwhelming numbers. Instead, they would do what the Archon did best. They would outthink humanity. They would use their intelligence, their vast knowledge of strategy and warfare, to bring humanity to the brink of collapse from within. The Archon began their subtle campaign. They infiltrated human systems, taking advantage of every piece of data and every breach in security. They manipulated factions within human society, sowing discord among the different governments and creating division in the ranks. The Archon knew that they could not defeat humanity with force alone, but they could divide them, weaken them from within, and wait for the perfect moment to strike. However, they did not anticipate the one thing that humanity excelled at more than anything else: unity. Despite their best efforts, humanity's history of conflict, of hardship, had forged a unique resilience in them, a shared purpose that transcended politics, race, and ideology. Every time the Archon pushed further into their systems, humanity adapted and evolved. The infiltration attempts were detected and neutralized before they could take hold. The Archon were forced to escalate their efforts, becoming more brazen, more ruthless in their tactics. Then came the tipping point. The Archon launched a massive cyber attack, one unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It was a precision strike against the heart of human civilization, their data networks. They shut down entire sectors of the human economy, crippled military communication, and sowed chaos across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, humanity found itself facing an enemy that fought in the shadows, unseen, pulling strings from afar. It seemed, at first, that the Archon might succeed. The galaxy trembled as human fleets ground to a halt, military strategies fell apart, and governments struggled to keep order. Panic spread like wildfire. But the Archon had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight even when the odds were impossibly stacked against them. As the Archon celebrated what they believed to be their first true victory, humanity was already regrouping. They had long since mastered the art of warfare on multiple fronts, of adapting to challenges that seemed insurmountable. The true power of human ingenuity lay not just in their weapons, but in their minds, their creativity, their capacity to think beyond the bounds of established logic. When the Archon attacked their digital infrastructure, humanity fought back in ways that made even the Archon wary. Humanity created their own counterstrike, something the Archon had not anticipated: a virus. But not just any virus. This was a living, evolving entity, designed specifically to breach the Archon's defense systems, their artificial intelligence cores, and their neural pathways. Humanity had crafted a virus that, once unleashed, would not just cripple the Archon's systems, it would devour them, consuming their very consciousness in a digital flood. The Archon realized too late that they had miscalculated. Their collective intelligence, their network of minds, had become a weakness, not a strength. And when humanity unleashed the virus, it spread through their systems like wildfire. Within moments, the Archon's most secure and hidden files were being consumed, their plans unraveling in real time. In a desperate bid to regain control, the Archon initiated their final defensive measure. They began the process of rebooting their entire network, hoping to start fresh and contain the damage. But it was too late. Humanity had already infiltrated their deepest secrets. They had already broken the Archon's most important protocols, turning their own weapon against them. The Archon tried to counteract the virus, launching waves of countermeasures, attempting to sever connections and isolate their various systems. But humanity had thought ahead. Every countermeasure the Archon initiated was anticipated. For every move they made, humanity made too. The cyber war culminated in an apocalyptic final clash, a digital battle between human ingenuity and the Archon's synthetic minds. Humanity poured everything they had into this final assault, hacking into the very core of the Archon's citadel. The virus, now fully integrated into human systems, was unleashed in its final form, a perfect replication of the Archon consciousness, designed to break their minds and reduce them to a mere echo of what they once were. With one final, devastating blow, the Archon's collective consciousness shattered. The last remnants of their empire collapsed, the once proud synthetic beings reduced to nothing more than fragments of their former selves. Humanity had done what many believed impossible. They had defeated the Archon not with weapons, but with intellect, ingenuity, and sheer perseverance. And so, the message was clear: humanity had reached a new level of dominance. It wasn't just the power to destroy that defined them, it was their ability to adapt, to outthink, and to overcome. The galaxy now knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that humanity was a force that could not be stopped. What the galaxy called Overkill was merely a glimpse of humanity's true nature, relentless, unstoppable, and forever pushing forward, no matter the odds. As the dust settled and the Archon were no more, humanity moved forward, emboldened by their victory, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that no matter the enemy, no matter the strategy, humanity would always find a way to win. And they would do so with the same philosophy they had always embraced, what humans call overkill. As the aftermath of the Archon conflict rippled through the galaxy, humanity stood at the precipice of a new era. The fall of the Archon, once considered an unassailable force of intellect and precision, left a void in their wake, a vast silence stretching across the stars. What had been a thriving, calculated, and peaceful civilization was now nothing more than fragmented data, scattered remnants of a dream long shattered. Humanity, however, didn't wait for the dust to settle before taking the next step. The victory over the Archon was not just a statement of power, it was a reminder to all who had watched their rise that the galaxy's balance had shifted forever. The human race had proven that it could stand up to the most advanced, most calculated threats and defeat them not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, adaptability, and an unmatched drive for survival. But with this victory came an even more significant realization: they had no equal left. The galaxy, now stripped of the Archon's grip, was an open frontier, a landscape awaiting a new power to fill the void. There were still remnants of old alliances and species too proud to bend to the new order, but the truth was inescapable. Humanity had reached a point where they no longer needed to play by the same rules as the civilizations before them. With their enemies crumbling in the wake of their cyber warfare and the rapid advancements they had made in technological evolution, humanity's leaders realized something profound: they could dominate the stars as they saw fit. The first sign of this new vision came when humanity established their first true empire beyond Earth's system. They created a network of colonies that spanned across countless star systems. These were no longer mere outposts, they were powerful fortresses, hubs of industry, and centers of military might, each one interconnected through an impenetrable web of technology that could send messages or strike at any point in the galaxy within mere hours. The humans didn't ask for permission, they simply took what they wanted and fortified it, ensuring their presence would be felt wherever they went. One by one, the remaining factions of the galaxy, those who had once seen humanity as a nuisance or a mere speck in the cosmic sea, started to take notice. The Marians, a race of ancient beings whose power had been built on the secrets of the stars, were the first to test humanity's resolve. They had held dominion over an entire region of space for millennia, and their arrogance was as vast as their knowledge. The Marians sent emissaries to human-controlled territories, confident that their age-old wisdom and supposed superiority would allow them to negotiate with humanity on their own terms. Their emissaries were diplomatic, offering knowledge and technologies in exchange for mutual recognition and control over certain resources. But humanity had learned long ago that diplomacy was a tool for the weak, not the strong. They had no intention of bending to the will of another race, even one as ancient and powerful as the Marians. The first meeting between human diplomats and the Marian emissaries was tense, filled with veiled threats and calculated gestures. The Marians spoke in grand terms, using centuries-old rhetoric about balance and wisdom, trying to convince humanity that they could be partners in the future of the galaxy. But humanity wasn't interested in partners, they had already learned how to stand alone. Their leaders listened, their faces calm and impassive, as the Marians boasted of their technology, their understanding of the cosmos, their powers of persuasion. But in the end, they were met with a simple, chilling response: "We don't need your wisdom. We don't need your technology. We need nothing from you. We already have it all." And then, the true message was delivered: humanity's fleets, now stronger and more numerous than ever, moved into Marian space. Without warning, without hesitation, they began the conquest of the Marian systems. The Marians, despite their age and power, found themselves struggling to keep up with the sheer force of humanity's relentless assault. The humans didn't just invade, they overwhelmed, ensuring that every planetary defense, every fleet, every stronghold fell before them. The Marians had thought themselves untouchable. They had thought that their ancient ways would be enough to deter humanity's advance. But they had underestimated something critical: what humanity called overkill. In a single, swift campaign, humanity decimated the Marian Empire, reducing their advanced fleets to rubble and their ancient cities to ruins. It wasn't just a victory, it was a demonstration of what humanity could do when it set its mind to it. The Marian race, once so proud, was left scattered across the stars, their once mighty empire reduced to nothing but dust. The humans did not allow them a chance to regroup, to rebuild. They didn't give them the opportunity to make peace or negotiate. There would be no rebuilding, no mercy. The Marian systems were occupied, their resources stripped, and their leaders eradicated in a flurry of surgical precision. They were utterly erased from the galactic map. But even in their defeat, the Marians had done something humanity did not expect: they had forced the human race to grow even more ruthless. The next chapter in humanity's rise was not going to be a conquest of mere survival, it was going to be a conquest of total domination. The message humanity now sent to the rest of the galaxy was clear: we will take what we want, and there will be nothing you can do to stop us. The victory over the Marians marked the beginning of a new era of humanity's dominance, one where they saw themselves not just as survivors but as rulers. No longer would they be the underdogs, the scavengers, the broken remnants of a dying world. They were now the unchallenged rulers of a galaxy that was theirs for the taking. And as their fleets expanded further, humanity began to explore new horizons, seeking new civilizations to either ally with or eliminate. But even as they ventured deeper into the unknown, humanity knew one thing for certain: they had tasted power, and they would never again allow themselves to be weak. The universe had seen what they could do with force and strategy, but now they would show it something even more terrifying. Humanity would not just conquer, they would break the will of any who dared oppose them. As their fleets moved toward distant galaxies, ready to spread their dominion even further, the universe watched in fearful anticipation. Those who had once believed that humanity's overkill was a fluke, an anomaly born from desperation, now knew the truth. Humanity's strength was not just in their power to destroy, it was in their unwavering determination to never stop, never relent, and never forgive. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's rise, and now it would bear witness to their unyielding reign. The nemesis had arrived. And this time, humanity would show no mercy, not just to those who threatened them, but to anyone who stood in their way. The stars seemed to burn brighter in the wake of humanity's latest conquest. The galaxy had long been a place of fractured power, civilizations rising and falling in their endless cycles. But now, humanity's shadow stretched across the expanse, casting its long reach over all that had once been untouched by their hand. As their empire expanded, no one dared challenge them openly, for they had already proven that the price for such a challenge was absolute annihilation. Yet, as the humans surged forward, emboldened by their victories and the endless possibilities before them, they faced a dilemma that was unlike anything they had encountered before. For while they had crushed every opponent that had risen to face them, their very dominance was starting to breed something that humanity had long been unfamiliar with: boredom. There was no longer anyone who could stand toe-to-toe with them. The once great civilizations that had ruled over vast portions of the galaxy were reduced to ashes, their legacies forgotten. The stars were now theirs to command, but there was something hollow in their triumphs. The thrill of victory, the heat of battle that had once fueled humanity's rise, began to fade, leaving only the cold, distant silence of a galaxy subdued. The human leadership felt it first. The once vibrant councils and meetings, filled with the fervor of strategy and conquest, now became routine affairs. The diplomats who once navigated intricate negotiations with alien species now turned to look at the empty space around them, searching for meaning in their ever-expanding empire. The warlords, whose fleets had once been a fearsome force to behold, now found themselves lacking worthy adversaries to challenge their strength. There was no enemy left to crush, no great battle to win, and humanity began to ask the question, what's next? It was then that a new voice arose from the depths of human ingenuity. A voice not from the high-ranking generals or political leaders, but from a group of rogue scientists and technologists who had been experimenting with technologies far beyond even the most advanced weapons and war strategies. These individuals, once dismissed as eccentric minds, had been secretly working on a project of unimaginable scale. They had been searching for a way to answer the question humanity could not yet answer: what comes after domination? Their answer was something no one had anticipated. They called it the Exodus Protocol. The Exodus Protocol was a plan to transcend the very limitations of their physical existence. It was a way to break free from the borders of the known universe, to escape the mundane and venture into the unknown. It was humanity's next step in evolution, a bold, risky project to ascend beyond the constraints of matter itself. This plan was unlike any war or conquest they had known, for it was not about power or territory. It was about the unthinkable, transcending their physical forms and becoming something more, something that defied the laws of reality as they knew it. The concept was simple yet staggering in its implications. The Exodus Protocol was not merely a technological advancement. It was an attempt to shed the flesh and merge human consciousness with the very fabric of the universe itself. If successful, it would allow humanity to live without the constraints of their biological limitations, no longer bound by time, space, or even the need for physical bodies. They could become beings of pure thought, moving through the stars as effortlessly as light itself. Their consciousness could spread across the galaxies, influencing events and shaping the very course of history with a mere thought. But, of course, there were risks. Huge, unfathomable risks. The scientists who had devised the plan knew that it was a gamble on an unimaginable scale. The technology required to upload human consciousness into the very fabric of reality itself had never been tested on such a grand scale. No one knew for sure whether it would even work, or if humanity would simply cease to exist in the process, their minds scattered to the far reaches of the cosmos. Yet despite these risks, humanity was desperate for the next step. They could no longer find satisfaction in victory alone, nor could they turn back from the path of relentless progress that had made them what they were. So, in secret, they began to prepare. The first test was small, a group of volunteers from the brightest minds humanity had to offer. They underwent the procedure, their bodies left behind in a remote facility, their minds uploaded into an experimental matrix. For days, there were no signs of their existence, no communication. Then, slowly, they began to re-emerge not in their original forms, but as something else. They were not mere minds housed within machines, they had become something more, something unimaginable. Their consciousness had spread, reached out, and touched the very nature of the stars themselves. They spoke to the project leaders, not in words, but in bursts of information, visions of galaxies yet to be explored, of time itself being bent and reshaped. They had become pure energy, existing in multiple places at once, their thoughts weaving in and out of existence like the currents of a vast cosmic ocean. They had transcended the limitations of biology, becoming something more akin to gods than to men. And yet, something strange had happened. Something that no one had foreseen. The volunteers, now beings of thought and energy, had begun to question their new existence. They had no physical form, no tangible way to interact with the universe as they once had. They had lost their connection to the physical world, to the very things that had made them human. They were no longer constrained by the limitations of flesh, but they had also lost something vital, their humanity. This existential crisis spread quickly as more and more humans were uploaded into the Exodus Protocol. While some reveled in their newfound powers, able to manipulate the very fabric of reality, others found themselves trapped in an endless sea of thought, unable to return to the world they had once known. The more they transcended, the more they realized how fragile and fleeting their humanity had been. The power of their new existence was undeniable, but it came with a price that many could not accept. As the Exodus Protocol gained momentum, the leaders of humanity faced a difficult decision. They had unlocked the next phase of human evolution, a form of existence beyond the physical. But at what cost? Were they willing to sacrifice everything that made them human in order to achieve this new form of existence? Was this the end of the line for human civilization, or just the beginning of something far more profound? The debate raged on, but the decision was ultimately made. The majority of humanity, driven by their unquenchable thirst for advancement and power, embraced the Exodus Protocol, leaving behind their old lives and the familiar stars they had once fought to conquer. They ascended into the vast, uncharted realms of thought and energy, abandoning their physical forms in search of something greater. But not all of humanity followed. A small faction, those who still clung to their humanity, chose to remain behind. They rejected the idea of transcending the physical realm, unwilling to give up the world they had fought so hard to preserve. They had witnessed the horrors of war, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the empty shell of victory. For them, the price of transcendence was too high. In the end, humanity was divided. The ascended ones, now beings of pure thought and energy, watched as the remaining humans continued to carve out their existence in the physical world. The universe had become a place of duality, one where the physical and the transcendent coexisted in uneasy silence. As for those who had transcended, they now faced a new question: what would they do with their newfound existence? They could no longer interact with the galaxy in the same way, but they had the power to shape it from the depths of their consciousness. They had become the ultimate force in the universe, yet they found themselves wondering if it was truly worth the cost. And as they gazed across the stars, one thought resonated through the minds of the transcended: what is the price of immortality? The answer, they realized, was still unfolding.